In this video, I will introduce you to the richest people in the history of the world. Let's take a look at the riches of these people together. Before I go to my video, I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel and support me. Now let's move on to the video. Number 10. Alan Rufus. Alan Rufus Norman, nephew of William I, Duke of Normandy, was with his uncle during the conquest of Normandy. According to Philip Beresford and Bill Rubenstein, the authors of The Rich Wealthy, he had a fortune of $194 billion in present value when he died. Number 9. Cornelius Vanderbilt. We start with Cornelius Vanderbilt, known by the nickname Commodore. Shipping and railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt was a self-made billionaire who became one of the wealthiest Americans of the 19th century. As a child, he worked with his father, who operated a cargo boat between Staten Island in New York, where they lived, and Manhattan. After working as a steamship captain, Vanderbilt took the job for himself in the late 1820s and eventually became one of the nation's largest steamship operators. In the process, the Commodore, who goes by the public nickname, built a reputation for being fiercely competitive and ruthless. In the 1860s, he focused on the railroad industry, where he built another empire and helped make rail transport more efficient. Her fortune is $210 billion. Number 8. Elon Musk. You may be surprised, but yes, Elon Musk is in the 8th place of our list with a fortune of $219 billion. I explained everything about Elon Musk in our previous video. Those who want can watch it. Number 7. John D. Rockefeller. Born in 1839, the American businessman began investing in the oil industry in 1863, and by 1880 the Standard Oil Company controlled 90% of American oil production. According to the New York Times obituary, Rockefeller had a net worth of approximately $1.5 billion based on his 1,918 federal income tax return and estimates of his total wealth. The present value of his wealth is $341 billion. Number 6. Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, a businessman born in 1835, was not as well known as Rockefeller, but was richer than him. He is even considered to be the richest American of all time. Carnegie acquired his company, U.S. Steel, in 1901 for $480 million by J.P. sold to Morgan. This amount equates to just over 2.1% of America's GDP at the time. The present value of his fortune is $372 billion. Now let's come to the last 5 rich people of our list. Number 5. Joseph Stalin. He ruled a country that made up 9.6% of the world economy. One of the most extraordinary figures in modern economic history is Stalin. The dictator, who had unlimited power, also controlled the world's largest economy. It is almost impossible to distinguish between Stalin's wealth and that of the Soviet Union. This makes him one of the richest people of all time. It can be easily explained. In 1950, 3 years before Stalin's death, the Soviet Union achieved an economic growth of about 9.5%. As of 2015, this figure corresponds to approximately $7.5 trillion. Of course, this money did not directly belong to Stalin, but he had the right to use the money as he wished. He had incredible power, says George O. Lieber, a professor of history at Alma University. Does that make Stalin a rich man in the traditional sense? Professor Lieber isn't quite sure. After all, it wasn't his personal fortune. But he could control his country's wealth at any time. Whatever the case, the truth is that Stalin was one of the most economically powerful people in history. Number 4. Akbar Shah. The empire of a country that accounted for 25% of the world economy was ruled. 10 richest people of all time. Akbar Shah, who put an end to the centuries-old unjust practices of the Indian tradition, established fair courts, and attached importance to fairness in tax collection, is known for developing a legal system in which Hindus and Muslims are tried according to their own traditions. Akbar Shah, who manages a quarter of the world economy, can be compared to Britain's royal family, according to economist historian Angus Maddison. But with one difference, the lifestyle of Akbar Shah and his family was not as extravagant as the lives of British high society. Number 3. Emperor Shenzong. Wealth ruled an empire with 25% to 30% of global GDP. Emperor Shenzong, who lived from 1048 to 1085, was an emperor who ruled the Song dynasty of China. This dynasty was one of the most economically powerful empires of all time. Professor of economics and expert on the Song dynasty at Tankang University. According to Ronald A. Edwards, at the time the nation was at its largest, it accounted for 25 to 30% of the world's economic output. Number 2. Augustus Caesar. Augustus' public revenue reforms had a great influence on the later successes of the empire. Instead of taxation, as his predecessors had done, which was partly voluntary and laborious, variable, and intermittent to collect, Augustus established a coherent and direct taxation system from Rome that brought together the farthest and most extensive parts of the empire's expanding territory. This reform greatly increased the net income from Rome's new lands, stabilized the income stream, and helped regulate financial relations between Rome and its provinces by preventing resentment resulting from arbitrary tax demands. During the reign of Augustus, quotas determined for each province were used as a measure of taxation. The citizens of Rome and Italy paid indirect taxes, not direct taxes like the provinces. Indirect taxes were 4% on slave prices, 1% on goods sold at auction and by inheritance. Includes 5% tax levied from one person to another, and for real estate with a value of more than 100,000 sesterces. Another equally important reform is the abolition of private tax collection and the appointment of tax collectors as salaried public servants. Private tax collectors were raising taxes according to the norms of the Republic, and some were so powerful that they could influence the votes of politicians in Rome. As tax collectors could have the right to tax local areas, as well as being quite wealthy, they could cause disgrace due to the havoc they wreaked. Rome's income, successful price hikes, and it was the sum left over from the tax collectors' forcible collection from the Roman people. Added to an effective governance vacuum, tax collectors' desire to increase their earnings produced a system that could often be quite barbaric to taxpayers and, rightly, considered unfair to the economy and investment. The real estate revenues of Egypt's vast lands, which were used in the military operations of the empire, led Augustus to conquer Egypt and establish a Roman-style state system there. Egypt, which was considered to be the property of Augustus rather than a province of the empire, was turned into a property under their control by his successors over time. Instead of a legate or proconsul, Augustus appointed a prefect of the equestrian class to rule Egypt and its lucrative ports. This was the most important office to be obtained for any equestrian, besides being a praetorian prefect. Thanks to the income from agricultural production in Egypt's highly fertile lands, both Augustus and his successors were able to cover the expenses of public works and military expeditions, which for the Romans meant bread and spectacle. Wealth, $4.6 trillion. Augustus Caesar, who lived from 63 BC to 14 BC, ruled the Roman Empire, which accounted for 25% to 30% of the world's economic output. According to Ian Morris, also a professor of Stanford history, Augustus at one point had personal wealth equivalent to 1/5 of his empire's economy. This wealth is currently equivalent to about $4.6 trillion. Number 1. Mansa Musa. University of California Department of History faculty member ASOC Dr. Rudolph Butchware said the information we've had about Moses' fortune in recent years is so breathtaking that we can't quite imagine how rich and powerful he was. Historians are of the opinion that it is not possible to express Moses' wealth in numbers. The source of wealth is gold. Born in 1280, Mansa Musa ascended the throne in 1312, and the kingdom of Mali entered a period of great expansion. At the time of Moses, the kingdom's borders expanded to include present-day Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea, and Ivory Coast. The lands that Moses conquered contained very rich underground resources. These include gold and salt. According to the British Museum, half of the gold traded in the Old World during the time of Moses came from the Kingdom of Mali. Mecca journey. Moses, a devout Muslim, decided to travel to Mecca via the Sahara Desert and Egypt to visit the holy places. It is stated that Musa set out with 60,000 people. Soldiers, senior officials of the country, and some slaves were also included in the convoy. The 100 camels in the convoy were carrying hundreds of kilos of pure gold. Moses stayed in Cairo for 3 months, during which time he distributed so much gold to the people that gold prices crashed in the Middle East. Due to this abundance, the cost of the fall in prices to the Middle East is estimated to be $1.5 billion today. Some sources say that due to the economic collapse, Musa stopped by Cairo on his way back and tried to collect some of the gold in the market. Moses died in 1337 at the age of 57. He was succeeded by his son, but failed to hold the empire together. The kingdom of Mali entered the process of disintegration after the death of Moses. Historian Ware said, "This is the richest man ever seen, there is no other explanation for this." He also said, "They are trying to find words to explain it. In the drawings, there is a king with a golden crown on his head, holding a golden cup, standing on a golden throne with a golden scepter. Think of as much gold as you think a person could have and multiply by 2, he said. So when no one can describe your wealth, you become the richest person in the world. Which one of our list you like? You can write in the comments section. If our video was helpful, we would appreciate it if you click the like button. If you subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, it will be easier to be informed about new videos. You can leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Good luck everyone.